Next thing on my list, something that men wish that women knew, is that sex isn't the only thing that men want.
Can I tell you how many times sex has been an option with somebody that I can't stand?
Yeah.
You know, another 30 seconds with, that I would so much rather go be alone and like read a book or talk to a friend or do pretty much anything than spend another moment with a person who is sexually available, but just not even, you know, just, and it's not even, they have to be so unpleasant. But like, listen, if I don't want to hang, like, I'm not going to stick around.
Yeah.
Both are true. It's not worth it, because you know how many hours I have to spend afterwards.
Oh man.
This is just totally from a real base selfish place right now. It's like, at some point you have to do the calculations about how much time am I going to have to spend with this person managing this relationship when I don't want to talk to them anymore. Like, if this isn't a argument for making sure you're having sex with good people, I don't know what is, because it is a drag and a half to get roped into someone's world who you just find, you know, not even unpleasant, just uninspiring. I want to be around inspiring people, including the people that I'm, you know, including the woman that I've chosen to share intimacy with.
Absolutely, man. I've been in this situation way too many times. You know, it's funny because like a lot of women really look at a lot of men as we're just these mindless sex creatures. We'll stick our you know what's in anything, and we just want it 24/7. And I'm not gonna lie, we all like sex. Men like sex, of course we do, but we don't always want to have sex with everyone, and we don't always want to have sex all the time. There's so many different factors here that come into play. Just like what you said, sometimes you go on a date and you realize, like, I'm not feeling this. Like she might be cool for this moment right here, but I'm not trying to have to do, because you know there's so much that comes, like you said, there's so much that comes with it afterwards. You gotta, you know, if you stay over, then you know, let's go get some breakfast, and let's do this, and you're just spending extra time. Like you've already done the deed, and now it's like, I don't even want to be around this person anymore. Like, but there's times where you just don't want to do it in the beginning, and you don't. And I feel like sometimes, and it's kind of interesting. A lot of women are actually really bad at rejection, but you know, hear me out. It's like, would you rather the guy slept with you and you guys might have had a bad time because he wasn't really that into it, or he wasn't that really into you? Or would you rather a guy be really honest, like, hey, I really don't feel this, like, or I'm good. I'm not interested in going in that route with you. You know, at least he's being honest, because there are some men that would just, what they will want to just have sex with you. And morning, they always like, all right, well, or they might leave the same night. You know. But then there's another aspect of it, you know. I feel that there's sometimes where women think that, you know, a guy wants to sleep with you like right away on the first date and stuff like that. I think we talked about this before. And that's not always the case. Sometimes a guy really genuinely wants to get a connection with you. Men don't just want sex all the time. Sometimes they want the intimacy with touching, eye contact, the way that you look at him. They want to feel that you feel safe with him. You know, they want to feel the closeness. A lot of times we think that we want the sex, but a lot of times it's the actual closeness with another human being, that spiritual connection. Sometimes it's a little bit more than just that. But I'm not going to say that the men don't want the sex part, because if any men that says they don't want it, I call cap. Like, come on. Let's be real here. We're all adults. But to say that men only, because I've heard one guy once say, "Oh, all men want is sex. They just mindless dogs. They just want sex." Every guy I come across only wants sex, and it's like, it's not all of us that just want it. There's other things that we want from a woman. There's things that we want to see, and a lot of times in the situations where you're offering sex to a man and he totally just declines, maybe those things that he's looking for you're not offering. Maybe those other aspects of those other traits that he's looking for in a woman, maybe you're not showing them, or maybe you don't have them at all, and maybe that's why he doesn't want to be physically intimate with you. There's all types of different scenarios here, but this is just a few that came to the surface of my head.
Yeah, so I've said this on a previous episode, and it bears repeating. When, as a man, you understand that you are in service, when you understand the depth of that service and how much investment it is to properly care for a woman physically, emotionally, spiritually, then you will really dial back and be much more selective about who you engage with physically, because a proper investment in that person is so high that it really requires that you think through whether you have the resources to be provisional and protective and bring your presence. Earlier in this episode, we said, whatever your expectation is on how much you serve in the bedroom, multiply it by 6, multiply it by whatever. That goes for everything, but do you have 6 hours to spend satisfying a woman, every week, a couple days? Do you have enough money to cover all of her meals? Do you have enough time and attention and presence to be able to listen to her talk about things that don't interest you? The level of service that's required when you're intimate with a woman, and the level of trust that you have to be trustworthy of, is much higher than we're seeing displayed anywhere in our culture. And the only way that we're going to correct the culture is to correct our behavior as individuals, and then also communicate what the standard is. And so the standard is sex and intimacy requires an investment of spiritual, physical, and emotional care that is being grossly underestimated by most men who are dating.
And there's something that you had said in there that just made me think of this. I feel like just like when you talked about in the other episode where there's boys, there's guys, there's men. A lot of men people that seem like they're men but they're actually boys, they're looking at just what they can get sexually from a woman. And I feel like until men reach that actual man status of an actual disciplined and intelligent and competent man, he knows the value and the estimates and the things that it's going to cost when you have sex with a woman. This is a woman that you want to be have around for a while or permanently. That every woman is going to cost something, and not just financially, but like I said, spiritually, emotionally, all these different things that you're going to have to bring to make sure that you're satisfying her and keeping up with everything that she needs. And so I think a lot of situations are, these guys are boys, and they're just going around having sex with a bunch of different women, not knowing the cost, not knowing, or not even really caring about the cost really, until they get to the point of where, oh man, I can't juggle 5-6 girls. I can't do all this. I don't even have the capacity for it, because it requires your focus. It requires your attention. It requires your presence. You got, if you're trying to divide your attention amongst 3 different women, and you barely got resources for one, what are you doing? What are you doing? So this is it's going to be a question that all guys have to ask themselves. Are you ready for this type of woman? Are you ready for a woman in general? Are you ready to handle these 3 or 4 women you're trying to date? You have to look at everything as a cost. Sex is not just sex. This is things that come with it. And if you aren't capable of providing the things that you need to provide for these different women, because there's people that ethically are dating 3 or 4 or 5 different women. They know about each other, but he's providing for all these different women. That's kind of how there's different levels to this. But there's men that are dating 3, 4, 5 women, and they're literally lying to them and manipulating them into thinking that they're exclusive with them, and they're not. They're barely doing the bare minimum while they're talking to 4 or 5 different other women. And this is the type of women, or these are the type of guys that a lot of women are actually running into, and they're thinking that there's a lot of, like, every guy is like this, but it's not every guy. It's these certain boys, these men that look like they're men, but they're really boys. And so once the guys get to this maturity level of understanding that sex comes with a lot of things with women, there's a cost. A lot of guys will actually be a little bit more selective with the women they're going to involve themselves with intimately, because some women are going to require less. Some women are going to require way more. And there's chances are that you're getting involved with a woman that's going to require way more. And it's like, hey, just leave her there so another guy or another man that actually has the resources to actually give her what she needs and provide for what she needs and wants. Let a man like that get with her, and don't waste her time, basically.
Awesome. I'm going to move on to number 3 on my list.
Let's do it.
Okay. Ask us what we think, not how we feel.
Ooh, I like it.
So this is something that maybe you've heard before as a cliche, but why? Like, why would I ask a man what he thinks about it? And this goes for if there's like a specific thing you want to know, or it just goes if it's out of the blue. If you're sitting next to your man in the car and you're like, what do you feel? What do you feel? Like, how do you feel right now? Now, I get that he might ask you that, but this is one of those questions that doesn't go in reverse. This is one of those ones where polarity and the masculine and feminine energies actually dictate a different question. So a masculine man who understands this stuff will ask his woman how she feels, because she is the holder. She is the one who is responsible for the emotional information in the relationship. We talked about pleasure earlier. She's responsible for the pleasure, and he's the one that is, if we want to talk about the Bible, we talk about the head of the relationship, and head gets interpreted as like the leader. And while that can be discussed, what I take it as also is he's actually in his head. He's like the mind. He's the thinking of the two. In a polarized couple, she's the holder of the emotions and he's the holder of the logic and the thought. So if you as a woman ask him what he feels, you are first of all leading, because you're asking him, and that's a leading question. Secondly, you're asking him to respond from a feminine place, which is to go into his body and to leave his mind and to leave his judgments and his assessments and to feel something and then to report back on how he feels. It's actually, if you're attuned to this, an emasculating transaction. You'll be like, what? I don't know how I feel. Like, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but you wake up in the morning and somebody asks you how you feel. You're like, I don't know yet.
Like, I'm just,
I don't know. I'm just here. And that's really a pretty masculine kind of response, which is like, I don't know how I feel. I'm just here. It doesn't really matter how I feel because I'm in service and I'm bringing presence and service. And I have some thoughts. So if you want to reinforce a man's masculine presence, you ask him what he thinks. What are you thinking about is another question if you're curious. And to phrase it, by the way, if we're going to go down this rabbit hole, it's like, hey, may I ask you a question? Because then you're adding this layer of permissivity to it, or permissiveness, which has him feel respected and has his thoughts or whatever's going on in his head. He can take that and he can say like, oh, yes, now is a good time. And then you're like, what are you thinking about? And then he can share his thoughts. Whereas if you ask what he's feeling, and he's a masculine man, he's a mature masculine man, he's got to kind of reorient his whole thing, drop into his body or his emotions and say, this is foreign territory. It's like dropping a Florida man off in Thailand and saying like, he's going to look around like, I don't know.
No, nothing.
Was his head from a hole in the ground? So instead of asking your man how he feels or how he's feeling, ask him what he's thinking about. And then men, the counterpoint to you is, instead of asking your woman what she thinks out of the blue, ask her how she's feeling. How do you feel right now?
I like that. I've actually been in this situation. I had a girl I was dating, and she would ask me that very frequently, like at least a few times a day. Like, how are you feeling right now? How are you feeling? I'd be like, oh, I'm chilling. I'm good, you know. It would just be like just having a good time, just relaxing or doing whatever. And how are you feeling? I'm good. You know. But it's funny that you said that. You know, when she would ask me, I'm like, I feel good. I think, yeah. I'm just really just chilling here. I don't know. I'm not even, you know. But I like that, because we are, like you said, we're thinkers. I like that when you said asking a question of, oh, man, can I ask you a question? Oh, well, what are you thinking? That's a whole different story than a woman says, what are you thinking? Or what are you feeling? Or what are you feeling right now? Because it's almost, I won't say it's intrusive, but it almost feels intrusive, and it can come off a little bit more masculine. And that could automatically put him in a polarized moment where it's like, I feel like it might make him respond in a certain way, or he might even come off defensive. Like, well, what do you mean? Why is there something I should know about, or why are you asking that? Why, you know? So, you know, these different ways you go about things can have different responses, and so that's why I really liked how you said asking a question, because I actually would prefer if a woman asks me a question. Oh, can I run something by you, and it's like, oh yeah, that automatically primes your brain for it, and automatically brings you here. Like, okay, she needs to ask me something, or she needs to know something. I'm here for it. You know. Yeah. Yeah, because, like, you know, we aren't supposed to be just hanging out in our emotions all day. Like, we're you know? So women that you know might say, oh yeah, well, I never know how you feel. You know, we're not really just chilling in our emotions all day. You know, so asking us how we're thinking, that can get you a lot further.
Yeah, these are communication bits that happen in real subtle ways. And so if you've never studied this stuff or been taught or attuned to it, it's going to seem like nonsense. Like, I'll totally give you that. That said, let's talk about the most masculine way a woman can do this, and then the most feminine. And then you could feel into a moment, using your own language, where you'd like to come in at. The most masculine way a woman could approach this is a directive about a directive about feelings. Tell me how you're feeling. Okay. So she is directing him. She's not asking him. And then she's pushing him into his emotions with it. So that's probably the most masculine thing. Now, for a man to say that, tell me how you're feeling, that's a directive. It feels safe, and it feels like, oh, I get to go in my body now and report about my emotions. So in reverse, it works. But if a woman were to say to a man, tell me how you're feeling, it's emasculating. So what's the most feminine way it can be shared? May I ask you a question? May I know what you're thinking? Okay, so we have two questions. Both are permissive, both respect him, and they keep him in the place of his thoughts. Now, if a man says that to a woman, may I ask you a question? First of all, limp D energy for sure. Second of all, may I know what you're thinking? Okay, now we've like elevated her thoughts and her mind. Like, we're taking her out of her body as the holder of the emotional information and masculinizing her and expecting a masculine response if she would so grace us with it. It is not protective and provisional. It's weak for a man to do that. It's because it's not in his strength. It's not in his polarized strength. That is a strong, secure woman who would say these things permissively. But when you flip it, it flips the energy, it inverts the polarity, and you have something that's really unattractive. I
totally agree. I think men have to well, really, both men and women have to look at these communication styles. There, these little things right there can flip a whole dynamic, a huge dynamic in the way that the interaction is going to go. And this, a lot of times people are doing it wrong in a relationship. And so you're depolarizing or polarizing in the wrong direction and all these types of things. This is what causes these little things right there can cause huge problems later on. So getting these little tidbits right and learning these little skills and techniques like that can really take you to a whole nother level in your relationships, because you don't realize how these little things can actually affect the entire relationship as a whole.
Yeah.
Things I wish that women knew. Our alone time is important, and it doesn't mean that we don't love you.
Nice. That's good. That comes to me back to our attention and our presence. And is that one of the ways that we care for ourselves is that we get to direct our attention in ways that please us. You know, we get to put, like, essentially we probably, if we have hobbies, some portion of that hobby is going to be problem solving. So we get to put our attention on like solving a cool problem. And then that hobby probably, I don't want to say this for sure because I've never thought this through before, but it might actually be in service to other people. So one of my hobbies is playing piano. So if I get time alone, I'm going to play the piano. I'm going to figure out, I'm going to like problem solve the math behind the music theory, get the dexterity. I'm like growing and problem solving so that I can take that gift out to the world, and then people can feel me and I can watch them feel me and I can be satisfied by that service. I mean, it's just what we were talking about in the kitchen and in the bedroom and now onto the music hall. Like when I get time alone, I want to put my attention on what pleases me. Ultimately, what pleases me is being in loving service to other people.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, skiing. I was thinking about skiing too. Like, I'd love to go ski. You're just like sliding down a hill,
right? Yeah, I mean, this is a cool one because I never thought about this one, but I really enjoy my alone time even when I'm in a relationship, and I don't need a whole lot of it, but I do enjoy. I've always enjoyed my alone time. It's my time of solace. It's my time where I can just read, or I can, I can practice my singing, or I can write, or I can work on some type of videos, or I can go hang. Maybe sometimes I want to go hang out with some friends, or I just want to turn my mind off for a little bit and just chill, not do anything, just kind of relax. And I think a lot of women, there's a lot of men were saying a lot of women get offended with the fact that they want alone time away from them. And a lot of women think, oh, they're alone time, they don't love me, they're cheating, they're talking to someone else, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's not the, if you're dealing with an actual, honest, masculine man, he probably just wants to recharge, or probably just wants to have some time for himself. It's healthy. It's totally healthy to want some time for yourself, to do what it is that you like to do. If you're into some type of a sport, or some type of a discipline like karate or something, whatever it might be. Sometimes us men just want to just be us men, just do what we do, and it's nothing against women. It's nothing against your partners, anything like that. Sometimes we just want some time to ourselves, and in that time, I feel like a lot of men can kind of recharge and kind of refocus. Just kind of get their energy back up, or just, like I said, maybe just want to just relax their brain a little bit. Maybe their brains require a lot of attention with your woman, with your work, with your mission, with your goals, all these different things. And if you have kids, that's a whole nother story. So maybe he just wants to just have some time to just zen out, just kind of relax and just kind of gather his thoughts and just chill for a second. And it's very healthy. I think it's a very healthy thing. It's a problem when the alone time is more than the time that you're spending doing anything else, especially time with your woman. But a normal amount of alone time, I think, is very healthy for every relationship.
Awesome. Number 4 on my list is something we covered before. Be moved. Expression of emotion, particularly pleasure, is our fuel. Let yourself emote. It's fire.
I like
Right?
that.
And then what's the opposite of it? Is I think about mistrust. I think about somebody who is like closed and guarded and not very emotive, because it's vulnerable to emote. People can see you, they can see what's moving you, they can see potentially how to manipulate you. So when you emote, first of all, it's a sign of health to emote. It's a sign that you don't have a guarded layer of protection up. And what is so attractive to men is a woman who is soft and movable toward pleasure. So if you come across a man who wants to serve you and you're excited by the service, and you can choose to express it at a 7 or at a 4, and you like this guy, you want to inspire him, you want to show him your true heart, let yourself express it as a 7, and keep the 4 for at work.
Exactly. I totally agree. We want to, like, we get something from that. I feel like a man really gets something from a woman's emotions, from her expressing how she feels, or her gratitude, whatever it might be. It's like our crack, like we want more and more and more, as much of that as we can get. And so, ladies, please feel free to let it out. Don't hold it back because of maybe a previous relationship or some experiences that you had that didn't go so well. Don't let something like that dim that beautiful feminine energy, that light inside you, that radiance. Because we want to see it. We want to feel it, and it really does something for a masculine man. And you don't, like I said, you don't want to do that for just anybody, like you said. And you don't want to leave the lower energy at work and stuff like that. But when you're with your man, we want to see it. We want to see that energy. We want to feel that.
Yeah, I would say, if you want to bring it everywhere, this is a good test. Like, it is, it's on a different level. But we talk about expression of feminine and masculine inside a relationship, and how to do it with the person you're dating, or how to do it with the person you're in a relationship with. But the truth is, if you're a woman and you express yourself in an emotionally vulnerable way, I'm not talking about crazy, I'm not talking about off the handle, but emotionally vulnerable, you express yourself out in the world, you can actually start to watch men who you don't know rise to the occasion of loving service, because this is happening on an instinctual level, not on a calculation mind level. If a man sees a woman who's truly, honestly expressing vulnerable emotion, he's at her service, and that is for the good of the species and the survival of the species. That's not because he's trying to get someone or get somewhere. That could be happening with some, but this is a deeper and instinctual thing that's going on. So you can take vulnerable, feminine expressions of emotion and watch the world respond, or watch the world show up for you. Watch men show up for you in loving service and presence, provision, and protection. It's a real thing.
And that, what you just said, the woman I mentioned earlier that was teaching women about femininity, this is something that she literally said. She was trying to figure out how to become more feminine, and sometimes it was really that vulnerability, being vulnerable, and really expressing the emotion, that's what femininity is. It's that expression. And she really seen men literally rise to the occasion, like you said. Like, guys would, offer to, get her some snacks or something on her lunch break. Guys were offering to, if she was lifting something really heavy, they're like, oh, let me help you. Oh, no. Oh, let me get you. This chair's messed up. Let me go get you another chair. Oh, no, let me. Oh, no. You sit there. I'll get it for you. And she was, wow, they're responding to me so different. Like, what happened? It was just that switch of just being more feminine, just basking in that feminine essence, being vulnerable, being emotional, and in a healthy way, in a very feminine way. In like you said, the world will respond to that accordingly. There's no way that it's going to go any other way. It's going to polarize anything in the vicinity to rise to the occasion.
100%. 100%. And it's risky. It's risky, especially if you've been betrayed, especially if you've been ignored, or you feel unseen, unheard, especially if you watch the news, especially if you watch true crime dramas, and this is what you're filling your head with. It's gonna feel risky. And your job is to show up and trust, and to watch men rise to the occasion to serve you.
I love that. Yeah, tell us when you just want to rant because we are fixers.
Yeah. So I would put this back in the man's court. When you hear a woman sharing something with you, ask her if she wants to be heard, or if she wants your problem-solving, bloodhound doggy on the case, right? Because we love to solve problems. We love to kind of complete the thing. We love to take credit for for solving the problems. We love to do things and make people feel good. One of the ways, men, that we can fix things and make people feel good is giving her a space to express her emotion vulnerably. And maybe she knows how to do that, and maybe she doesn't. So which is to say, maybe her sharing has a lot of blame, has a lot of irritation, has a lot of judgment, has a lot of masculine energy in it. If that is what she wants to share with you, say about her day at work, it might be a little more difficult to be present with such a masculine energy as she's sharing it. Do it anyway, right? If you're on this journey with a woman who is trying to soften, that's probably not the opportunity to correct her unless she's invited you to specifically. But it will be a little harder to hold masculine space and not solve a problem for a woman who's coming at you with a lot of masculine energy, a lot of complaint, a lot of deflection, blame, irresponsibility. But doing that is a way to bring problem solving and bring healing. She needs to get it out. She needs to do it. So be sure, if you're on the front end of an emotional dumping, that you ask, do you want me to solve this problem, or do you want me to listen and be present for you? Because there are three things that indicate masculine, true, mature masculine men, and that's protection, provision, and presence. And you're actually providing her with your presence in this case. So it's a good gift.
Yes. And this is something I had to learn myself, being someone that had a lot of people-pleasing behaviors, and in my earlier dating stages, women would, they would want to tell about their day, or just rant. They just wanted to get it out. They wanted to get that emotion out. And, as we are wired, we're fixers. And so I'm hearing this, and, my friend at work, she did this, and I can't believe she did this behind my back. And then Janet and so-and-so did this, and this, and I just can't stand these girls, and blah, blah, blah. And me in my head, I'm just like, well, you should just stop being friends with them. Just leave. Like, this, why are you hanging out with them? Babe, why, just stop conversing with them. Why are you even stressing yourself out? And she's getting frustrated at me. She's like, oh, you're not even listening. And I'm like, well, I'm listening. I just heard what you just said, and it sounds like this chick is tripping. So you need to just get her cut out of your life and blah, blah, blah. She's not trying to, that's not what she's trying to do. That's something I had to learn as a guy. Not all the time is a rant about you fixing it. They just, like you said, you got to give them that space. But ask that question before she starts. Is this, do you just want to get it out? Do you just want a listening ear? Or do you want me to actually give you actual advice? And that's something I had to learn. And not just with women, but with people in general. But we're talking about women right now. Guys you really have to learn. Sometimes your woman is just really wanting to get the expression out. And, just be there. Be that listening ear. Be that person, giving her your attention. And when she's done, a lot of times she's gonna just be glad that she got it out. She just need to get it out. Now she's all over you. Now she's opened, and she's relaxed, and she's in her feminine, and now she's playful. Sometimes you just need to let her get it out, and then you can even ask questions. Oh, and how'd that make you feel? It made me feel really upset when she did this, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And so when she did this, it made you feel like this. Yeah. And sometimes she just wants to feel seen and heard. And that in itself is healing for women. So that's something that we all can work on. Ask the question: do you want to rant, or do you want me to fix it?
You just took the answer and upgraded it, right? Because what you did was that you provided masculine leadership and you were leading her into her emotions. So when we're talking about venting, a more accurate term for venting is emotional release. Like when she's really coming home, she wants to be able to release these emotions that she's kept a lid on because she's at work. So now there's this chance to release. She, what will serve her a little is to tell the story about it. What will serve her more is to express the vulnerable emotion behind it and have that held, seen, felt, and honored. And so when we're talking about, like, if there's a lot of masculine complaint energy coming at you, you can lead that and you can lead her back into her vulnerable expression of her emotion, and then watch that emotional release happen faster, get her back to ease and a baseline, and then you will feel it as it happens. You'll feel that sublime energy. But you're sitting by her, whether you're on the phone, you'll watch her open up and you'll feel it. It'll feel really good.
Absolutely. I think that's that right there will solve probably 60 to 70% of a lot of relationship problems. I appreciate you being on another episode here. We talked about some really good stuff.
Áudio é foda, né? Áudio é foda, né? Áudio é foda, né? Áudio é foda, né? Áudio é foda, né?